Her name was Isabella, and for 2 years she had lived in the gilded shadows. She was the secret, the late-night phone call, the owner of the perfume that hung on his clothes. She was his mistress. And last night, the carefully constructed world of whispers and stolen hours came crashing down with a single, firm knock on her door. When she opened it, her blood ran cold. It wasn't him. It was his wife. Elena Van Horn stood on the threshold, not with the fiery rage Isabella expected, but with a chilling, glacial calm. She was elegance personified, a woman who looked like she commanded boardrooms, not confronted her husband's lovers. She didn't push past her. She simply asked, "May I come in?" And in a daze, Isabella let the wolf into the henhouse. Elena's eyes scanned the apartment, taking in the art he'd bought her, the books they'd discussed. She didn't flinch. She sat, crossed her legs, and placed a manila folder on the coffee table. "You're more beautiful than I imagined," Elena said, her voice devoid of malice. "David has always had excellent taste." Isabella waited for the threat, the demand to disappear. Instead, Elena slid the folder across the table. "My husband is a dangerous man, Isabella, more dangerous than you know, and I am not here to fight you for him. I am here to ask for your help in destroying him." Inside the folder were not pictures of their affair. They were financial documents, offshore account numbers, and photographs of other women. Many other women. Elena revealed a pattern that spanned a decade. David wasn't just a cheater. He was a predator who targeted ambitious, beautiful women, used them for ego and information, and then discarded them with threats and blackmail, often using secrets he coaxed from them in moments of vulnerability. Isabella was not special. She was simply the latest. Elena said, "He has a file on you too, my dear. That confession about your student loan fraud from years ago, he recorded it. The emails you sent bad-mouthing your boss, he has them. He's building his case to ruin you when he's done with you, just like he did to the others." Isabella was shocked. She went through the folder. She saw pictures of herself and the records Elena had just told her about. Her blood ran cold. She thought she was loved. She never knew that David had kept a file on her waiting to destroy her. But Elena's motive wasn't just revenge for the infidelity. With a tremor in her voice she fought to control, she revealed their daughter, Sophie, was sick. A rare disease. David had been siphoning money from the family fund, money meant for Sophie's experimental treatment, to fund his lavish double life. He wasn't just a cheat. He was sacrificing his own child's health for his pleasures. Elena needed Isabella to be her inside woman. To get proof of the embezzlement before their assets were frozen in the impending divorce. She wasn't just offering Isabella safety from David's wrath. She was offering her a chance at redemption. Isabella agreed to play the most dangerous role of her life. With Elena as her shadowy director, she became the perfect, doting mistress while secretly collecting evidence. The intimacy she once craved became a tactical mission. The world had split in two. For Isabella, there was the before, a life of clandestine passion and quiet guilt. And now, the after, a life of calculated performance and terrifying purpose. With Elena's dossier burning a hole in her consciousness, she looked at David and no longer saw the charismatic, powerful man who had swept her off her feet. She saw an architect of ruin, a collector of souls, and she was to become his final, fatal acquisition. Their first encounter after the pact was a masterclass in duplicity. David arrived at her apartment, smelling of expensive whiskey and a faint, unfamiliar perfume. He pulled her into a kiss, and Isabella forced herself to melt into it, her mind screaming, her body a traitorous instrument of the act. "God, I missed you," he said. "This board meeting was a cage of idiots. You're the only one who understands the pressure I'm under." This was her opening. Elena's coaching echoed in her mind. "He confides in you to feel superior. Turn his ego into your weapon." Isabella, putting on a sober face, said, "It's cruel, them demanding so much from you. Don't they know you're carrying the entire company? It must be a nightmare, managing all those accounts, all those assets. I worry you'll work yourself into the ground." David preened as predicted. "Assets," he scoffed, pouring himself a drink. "It's not the assets, it's the liability, the dead weight. Elena's constant demands, that foundation of hers, the medical bills, it's a black hole." Isabella's blood ran cold. He was talking about his daughter's treatment fund. She felt the tiny recording device, a brooch Alina had given her, pressing against her chest like a brand. She walked to him, running a hand down his arm, playing the doting confidant. "It's not fair," she said. "Your legacy shouldn't be drained by liabilities. You've worked too hard. Don't you have people who handle that? To protect what's truly yours?" David looked at her, a new spark of appreciation in his eyes. "You see it, don't you? The vision. I have a guy, Silas. He handles the sensitive transfers, moves things to places where the vultures can't pick at the bones." It was the first thread. A name, Silas. The information was passed to Alina in a coded text, a seemingly innocuous message about a wine delivery. The response was immediate. "Good girl. Now we need the destination, the account numbers, the proof it's from Sophie's fund." The mission became Isabella's entire existence. She learned to steer conversations with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. She planted a keystroke logger on his laptop while he showered, her hands trembling so violently she could barely type the command Alina had written for her. She felt a constant, low hum of terror, a fear that was becoming a familiar companion. The late-night strategy sessions with Alina were their own form of torture and transcendence. They occurred in a neutral location, a quiet, back booth of a closed art gallery Alina patronized. The air was thick with the smell of old canvas and fresh coffee. One night, the stress finally broke Isabella. As she relayed the details of David's latest cruel comment about his wife, she began to cry silent, helpless tears of shame and exhaustion. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I feel so dirty. He touches me and I want to scream." Alina didn't offer hollow comfort. She simply listened, her gaze steady. Then she did something unexpected. She reached across the table and covered Isabella's hand with her own. Her touch was not soft, it was firm, grounding. Alina said, "The dirt is his. It has always been his. You are just the mirror we are holding up to show him his own filth. Your skin is not dirty. Your soul is not dirty. You are a warrior, and warriors get their hands bloody." These words were a lifeline. In that moment, the professional alliance cracked open, revealing something raw and profound beneath. Isabella looked at Alina, really looked at her. She saw the strength it took to sit there, planning the destruction of the man who had betrayed her in the most intimate ways, all while fighting for her child's life. She saw not a rival, but a commander, a queen marshaling her forces. The next session, Alina brought wine. It was a bold, risky move, lowering their inhibitions when clarity was paramount. But it worked. The conversation loosened, drifting from tactics to truths. "He hasn't touched me in 3 years," Alina said. "Not since my diagnosis. He said he couldn't bear to see me diminished. It was the greatest gift he ever gave me." Isabella asked, "What did he promise you, in the beginning?" "The world," Alina laughed, a dry, hollow sound. "And like a fool, I believed him. He doesn't love people, Isabella. He loves the reflection of himself he sees in their adoring eyes. When the reflection cracks, he discards the mirror." Isabella found herself confessing her own loneliness, her family's rejection, the deep-seated insecurity David had initially preyed upon and then exploited. "He made me feel chosen," she admitted, her voice thick. "But it was a lie." "He didn't choose you," Alina said. "He targeted you. There's a difference. We were all targets, but we," she paused, her eyes locking with Isabella's, "we are choosing each other now." The air in the room shifted. The space between them seemed to electrify. It was no longer just about survival or revenge. It was about connection. A forbidden, dangerous, and intoxicating connection forged in the crucible of their shared trauma. When Alina reached out to move a stray strand of hair from Isabella's face, her fingers lingering for a heartbeat too long on her cheek, neither woman pulled away. The unspoken thing was now a living, breathing entity in the room between them. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place a week later. The keystroke logger delivered a golden prize, the login credentials for David's encrypted cloud server, nicknamed Alchemy. Alina's hacker, a ghost on the payroll, accessed it. Inside was a digital Pandora's box, the complete financial trail of the embezzlement, the blackmail files on Isabella and a dozen other women, and most chillingly, a life insurance policy on Alina, with the value doubled in the event of an accidental death. They had him, they had everything. But as they celebrated in a hushed, frantic whisper over a secure video call, Isabella felt a new, different kind of fear. The end was in sight, and the end meant this intense, world-altering partnership with Alina would have to transform into something else. The mission that had given her a purpose was about to be complete. What would she be without it? Without her? The game was almost over, and the winner would have to decide what to do with the spoils. The plan was set. In 48 hours, Alina would file for divorce, simultaneously delivering the evidence to the district attorney and the financial regulators. The trap was sprung. All that was left was the wait. Isabella tried to sleep, but every sound was a threat. The buzz of her phone made her jump. It was David. He had sent a text. "Something's come up, need to see you, now." The message was terse, wrong. A cold dread seeped into her bones. Alina's instruction had been clear. Do not see him alone once we have the files, he's a cornered animal. But not going would arouse more suspicion. She texted Alina a single code word, Nighthawk. It meant he was coming. The contingency was now in play. When he arrived, the charming facade was gone. This was the man from Alina's warnings. His eyes were dark, his jaw set. He didn't touch her. He just stood in the center of her living room, a predator surveying his domain. "We need to talk about your new friendship," he said. Isabella's heart stopped. She forced a laugh. "What are you talking about?" He pulled out his phone and played a short, grainy audio clip. It was their voices, hers and Alina's, filtered but unmistakable. Warriors get their hands bloody, he had known. But for how long? "Did you really think you could fool me? That I wouldn't protect myself from the two most treacherous women I've ever known?" he said. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "You were a beautiful distraction, Isabella, but she is a disease, and it seems she's infected you." He laid out his counterattack. He had compiled his own dossier. It contained edited clips of their conversations, making it sound like Isabella and Alina were lovers plotting to murder him for his money. He had falsified documents showing Isabella embezzling from her own company. He would release it all to the press, to the police, to her family. "So this is what is going to happen," David said. "You will come with me to my lawyer tomorrow. You will sign an affidavit stating that Alina is mentally unstable, that she coerced you, that this is all a fabricated plot by a scorned wife. You will publicly denounce her, and in return I will only destroy her and not you. You will walk away. This is my mercy." He was giving her the devil's choice. Betray the woman who had shown her more respect and solidarity than he ever had and save her own skin, or stand with Alina and be annihilated. The terror was paralyzing. She looked at his face, so sure of his victory, so confident in his power to break her. And in that moment, the fear crystallized into a cold, sharp clarity. She saw the path Alina had carved for her, the path of the warrior. She let a single, perfect tear roll down her cheek, a performance worthy of an Oscar. "You're right," she said. I was scared. She threatened me too. She said she'd tell you I seduced her if I didn't help." David's smirk was triumphant. He had won. He believed he had broken her. "I need a drink," Isabella said. I can't think." She walked to the kitchen, her movements deliberately shaky. As she poured a glass of water, her fingers, hidden from his view, danced across her phone, tucked away on the counter. One tap, then two, sending the final, pre-written message to Alina. "The king is in the castle, he knows, execute checkmate." As David savored his victory, there was a knock on the door. Not a hesitant tap, but a firm, authoritative bang on the door. David's head snapped up. "Who the hell is that?" Isabella met his gaze, and for the first time she did not look away. The fear was gone from her eyes, replaced by a flat, unnerving calm. "Why don't you answer it and see?" Suspicion clouded his face. He strode to the door and yanked it open, ready to intimidate whoever was on the other side. He froze. Alina stood there, but not as he had ever seen her. She was dressed in a sharp, black power suit, a sartorial declaration of war. Flanking her were two men with the steely gaze of pit bull lawyers, and behind them, two large men in the subtle uniforms of private security. But it was what or who was next to her that made the blood drain from David's face. A slight, nervous man in a rumpled coat, clutching a briefcase. Silas, his money man. "Hello, David. I believe you know everyone, except perhaps for my counsel. They're here to ensure you understand the terms of your surrender." David stood, speechless, his mind trying and failing to process the scene. How? How did she have Silas? Alina gestured to Silas, who flinched under David's glare. "Mr. Silas was very cooperative once we showed him the evidence that you've been setting him up as the sole fall guy for the embezzlement. The offshore accounts he managed for you, they're all in his name. You left him to hang. He'd rather deal with us." One of the lawyers stepped forward, handing David a thick document. "This is a revised settlement agreement, Mr. Van Horn. You will sign over full control of the company to Alina, along with 90% of your personal assets, which will be placed in a trust for Sophie. You will also sign this confession regarding the embezzlement from the medical fund." "And if I don't?" he asked. "Then we don't go to the regulators. We go directly to the press with the audio of you calling your dying daughter a liability and the life insurance policy you took out on me. The public evisceration will be thorough, and then the regulators will come for you anyway. Either way, you lose. This way, you avoid prison and get to keep a shred of dignity, a very small shred," Alina responded. David looked from his wife's resolute face to his mistress's defiant one, to the traitorous Silas, to the implacable lawyers. He was utterly and completely checkmated. The empire he had built on lies and manipulation had been toppled from within by the very people he considered his pawns. As David, broken and defeated, took the pen, Alina turned to Isabella, her voice dropping to a whisper only for her. "It's done.